You have to master the listing presentation. Now, this is going to be like contradictory what you hear from other people.
Real estate is a game of confidence. The consumer hires confidence, period. They do not hire competence. They hire confidence. Whenever you lose the art of self-generation and become dependent on a lead company for solely providing your leads, they can jack up the price and take your profitability.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level Up Podcast with myself, Greg Harrelson. This is where I focus on taking you from agent to entrepreneur. As you know, I have a passion for developing agents. And on today's episode, I'm going to share another quick strategy on how you can increase your production. I'm going to be real, so you be ready. Let's level up.
I think we'll start with a quick little introduction for those of you that don't know us and maybe share with you what we're up to, just kind of give you a little update. Of course, that's not going to be a basis of this conversation, but it just kind of gives a little context to the situation. So if I can, I'll start with introducing Abe. Abe Safa is a partner of mine. He and I are coaches with the Real Estate Sales Solution. This is our coaching program. I think even more importantly, Abe, you've been in the business for how long now?
10 years.
10 years. Gosh, time flies, right? That's awesome. And so, Abe is really a testament for, what's possible in the area of listing property, because his first year, he closed nearly 40 transactions, right at 40 transactions, maybe one or two listings. He may have, buyer sales in that mix, but everything else was listings. So went from new licensee to taking enough listings to actually sell about 40 of them. And still have listings left over to roll into his second year, starting his second year of business. And second year went to around 70 transactions, third year, 100 transactions. And today, yes, he has a buyer agent, but for the most part, he's still stayed true for over 10 years of being strictly a listing agent. Few buyer sales here and there. But I think what I want to stress is not to impress you about his numbers and surely not any of my numbers, but to impress upon you that when it comes to a listing conversation, we're very confident in our abilities to help agents get listings. So, Abe, would you say that anything else you'd want to add that you think is important for people to understand so their listening is in the proper direction when we talk today?
Yeah, I think in the 10 years that I've been in the company with you and then also known you for so many years, the idea that you can turn any agent into a listing machine, like some of you out there might not believe it possible, but I've seen it happen over and over and over. So I kind of want you to kind of just suspend any disbelief about what you've heard about the industry, what's possible, what's not possible, just for today's conversation. And just we invite you to kind of listen to what we have to say. And we promise you what we're telling you works 100%, proven over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it all comes down to, Abe, is what we're telling you is what we coach our own agents. Abe is not necessarily owning real estate companies, but he is developing a little team now. And so everything that we're going to tell you are things that we put to practice ourselves today. And for me, who own 11 offices throughout North and South Carolina with around a little bit over 400 agents, I have quite a bit of agents producing at very high levels. And basically what you're going to get today in about any time that I'm coaching is you're going to pretty much get an insight of what I coach my own agents. And obviously my motivation is to build the production of my agents because that's how I build the production of a company. A company doesn't build production outside of agents. They build it through agents. So I like to develop agents, help them build their business. Therefore, that's how I build my business. So everything that we're going to share is nothing that we share is going to be something that we read somebody else talk about in a book. We're going to be sharing things that we're experiencing and things that we're doing right now. So today's content is new to this webinar. This is not a copy and paste and put it in ChatGPT and have it actually spit out some different version. And then we're just going to give you those notes because it would be very easy to do that, but I don't know that it'd be relevant. And we believe in being effective, not just filling one's time. So with that being said, I'm ready to get going. How about you, Abe?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and kick it off by saying this. The conversation today is about jump-starting a listing-based business. So just to set the stage here, let's make some assumptions. No matter where you are in your business, let's assume that you're kind of at zero. You're either newer to the business, working with a bunch of buyers, and are frustrated saying, man, I'd really like to start working more listings. Or you could be somebody that's actually already working listings, but you're saying, I want to get more. And to me, when I actually believe that the way that you coach a new agent and the way that you coach an agent that's actually done good business, whatever good is, that's subjective, done a good level of business, but is plateaued, you coach them the same way. You coach a new agent by helping them get back, learn the basics and stay focused on the few things that help them get a lot of listings. And the way that you coach a good agent, somebody that's got good production, like maybe a top agent, maybe somebody already doing 25 deals, 30 deals, 50 deals, 70 deals, even 100 deals a year, that's plateaued. Plateaued meaning somebody that's done the same amount of business, relatively the same, for a few years in a row. That's a plateau. The way that you coach them, no matter what level their production is you coach them exactly the same way that you will coach a new agent. Because the experienced agent has gotten away from the fundamentals. They've strayed from the basics. That's why a new agent will actually grow their business at a faster and a better trajectory than a seasoned agent, because the new agent knows nothing but the basics, and the older agent, the more experienced agent, they're too smart. They're so smart. They've outsmarted themselves. So today is about, let's get back to the basics, not concerned about what your level is.
Yeah, no, you're going to hear the terms over and over, basics, back to the drawing board, and just grinding every single day. So it's not, you're not going to hear anything that's like revolutionary that we just made up and we're trying to test out on you guys. Everything that you're going to hear today is stuff that's proven over and over and over to work. So I do want to add that, but that's it.
Yes. All right. Well, fantastic. So a few quick things here. I'll just say another things, another 2 points to kind of set the stage here.
Yeah.
Some of the two people that I'm thinking of, and I started thinking about this morning as I was going to start this, that I've coached every one of these things just in the last 18 months. One of them, Lance, 19-year-old kid, 18 years old. He came to me, says, want to get into real estate. The barrier, though, for him to get into real estate is he lived in New Jersey, and somebody told him, if you're going to get into real estate as an 18-year-old, you're going to have to relocate to Myrtle Beach and work under Greg. This kid relocated to Myrtle Beach, got an apartment, has worked under us in kind of right beside me for the last around 15 to 16 months. And he's now 19. He took 50 listings his first year as an 18-year-old turning 19. And then I can think of, others. Another one's 22 years old, is now taking around 7 to 8 listings per month. Average. Was with another company. The companies don't matter. Was with another company, had not taken one listing in his first year of business. Now, he's now a year into the business with us. Following these strategies, he's averaging 7, getting close to 8 listings per month. So again, I say this, what I'm getting ready to share with you and Abe's getting ready to share with you, this stuff works in this market. But I will say it worked in the market 25 years ago. So Abe, why don't you kick off with the first point here that we're sharing notes there. It's about the listing presentation, unless you have anything else you want to say before we start.
No, let's jump right into it. So the first point is you have to master the listing presentation. Now, this is going to be like contradictory to what you hear from other people, because this is typically the last one, right? People tell you, we'll learn how to generate first, learn how to make phone calls, learn how to objection handle. And then at the very end, you want to start your work on your listing presentation. We're saying it needs to be the opposite. Learn, memorize, practice, and master your listing presentation. We've seen time after time after time, the more confident an agent has in their listing presentation, what happens miraculously is they set more appointments. So when you have more confidence that when actually game time shows up and you're going to walk into someone's home and you're going to deliver, you subconsciously are a different person. So every time you're making a phone call, whether it's cold calling, whether it's an expired or whatever it may be, you're a different person coming with more confidence. So we're saying, let's kind of reverse this. Let's not wait till you actually set an appointment for you to start practicing listing presentation. You need to start practicing it immediately.
Yes. Yeah. Can I add to that, Nate?
Yeah, I was just to say, again, and I know you got some things to add to that.
So one of the things that I was taught early on in my real estate career, and this was from one of my coaches on this exact point, which is this actually, I had a coach helping me learn how to coach agents. All right. It was a coach's coach. And one of the things that he was always saying early on in my career, hey, look, we got to make sure that we teach people and hold them accountable to understanding this listing presentation, because if they start practicing and focus on lead generation first, they're going to constantly be hoping that everyone tells them no. Hey, I'm just kind of curious, when do you plan on moving? I'm never moving. Well, it's like almost like when we don't know the listing presentation, we kind of subconsciously feel relieved when somebody says no, because if they were to say yes, now I've got to go perform. So think about a Broadway play. Those people that are on Broadway, which is the pinnacle for plays, at least in the United States, to perform on a Broadway stage. Those actors, those performers, they have mastered their presentation before the first show ever happens. They never perform in front of an audience until they have mastered their presentation and demonstrated a level of mastery before they ever open the doors. And that's what we're talking about. We're not saying that you can't work. No, keep working, keep doing what you're doing. But if you were a new agent, if you were an agent that's plateaued, what I would say is go back and relearn the listing presentation and master it. Because through the pursuit of your mastery, you're going to gain incredible confidence. And there's one thing we know about real estate. Real estate is a game of confidence. The consumer hires confidence, period. They do not hire competence. They hire confidence. And the way we get that confidence, especially in lead generation, is mastering the listing presentation. Before we go on to the next point, we are so serious about this that when we onboard a new agent onto our team, I actually created a listing, like a mastery course, a certification course, where they have to actually go through this course. And in the course, at the end of the course, they have to demonstrate their listing presentation in front of me live. I have a notepad in front of me, and I'm actually critiquing them. And they have to hit all of the major points in the listing presentation prior to me certifying them. I've only had maybe one, maybe two, there's possible it was two, that have ever been certified in their first round of critique. That's how serious I mean, or how serious I take the mastery of the listing presentation. But now look what happens. You become a 19-year-old taking 50 listings in your first year. He's actually going to probably get 60 because we're talking about this calendar year. Calendar year's not done yet. All right, let's go to number 2. I think we beat that in pretty good. Number 2 is choosing one pillar. Choose one pillar. Now remember, you may already have production. You may already be getting some listings. You may already be making deals. But I want you to mentally think like a rookie right now. See, I remember when I years and years ago, I coached for Mike Ferry. Gosh, it's been years. And one of the things that was really fun about working with the Mike Ferry organization and being a coach is I tended to always attract either the brand new agents, or a lot of times I attract the agents that were doing like mega agents, doing a lot of business. Like I can remember, I won't mention names for respect of those agents, but like agents that were making $1 million, but they made $1 million in their income, in their net income. But the challenge was they made $1 million like 3 years in a row. In other words, there was no growth. Now, some of us would say $1 million, I'd sure be happy to have that. I understand. But no matter what level you are, if you're not growing, you're feeling like you're moving backwards. So I would tend to have those bigger agents that had plateaued come into my program. And I know what it was. They knew that I wasn't going to like buy into their BS. And they knew that I was a strong enough personality that I was going to crack the whip and hold them accountable and not be impressed with their past performance. But you know what I did to crack their code to get them going? I treated them like rookies. I said, if you could just remember what you did to get there, you would get to the next place. But because you stopped doing what it took to get where you are, you now no longer are doing what it takes to get you to the next place that you want to go. And so we say to that person, hey, even though you may be doing some things right now to generate production, you need to go back to the day where you just chose one pillar. Again, you keep your things going, that's working, but I want you to choose one pillar. And what I recommend is you go back to your roots. The day where you actually, now some of you did this, not all of you did this. For those of you didn't do this, I recommend you do this. For those of you that did it but stopped, I recommend you start. Go back to the days, the basics, choosing one pillar, and that pillar should be circle prospecting around just solds. Circle prospecting around just solds. Now, there's many reasons why I'm going to tell you this, okay? But one of the reasons that I'm going to tell you this is because it is the one pillar that you can get max reps. It's kind of like saying, hey, look, I know you're pretty strong, and I know that you can like bench press, 150 pounds, 200 pounds. I know you can bench press that 10 times, but I would rather you take 25 pounds and bench press it 300 times. That's what I want you to do. I want you to go back into the gym and I want you to get max reps. I want that muscle to memorize these conversations because of how many reps. So I'm looking for mass reps. And you can do that through circle prospecting around a just sold script. Now, a just sold script, you don't have to have just sold a property to call an area and use a just sold script. Just don't say that you sold it. You could say, I just sold it. If you did, you could say we just sold it if it's a sold within your company, or you could say another home just sold. In other words, you can use another, we, or I. The consumer doesn't hear either one of them, but I would say use the one that has integrity, but just understand it doesn't matter if you have a sold or not. You could start this as a new agent using the just sold script. And you do this for 30 contacts a day. No, all these coaching companies and all these CRMs that are tracking attempts, please stop tracking how many attempts. You make as many attempts as you have to have 30 conversations. Attempts doesn't pay the bills. Conversation does. But what we're doing is we're getting soft as an industry saying, oh, just make 120 attempts. That'll be fantastic. No. How about let's have a real conversation? If you want to be our top producer, make 30 contacts. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Believe it or not, circle prospecting around just solds right now can represent 20% of a good listing agent's business. A high producing listing agent that's doing, say, 100 listings a year, 20% of their business can come from circle prospecting. It's a significant portion of anyone's business. It's not an old strategy. It's a strategy that agents just aren't being coached to do any longer. And there's a motivation in our industry to no longer coach you to do these things. And the motivation is, don't learn how to generate it yourself. Let us do it for you. Don't learn how to fish and feed yourself. Let us feed you to the point where you become independent. To the point that you become dependent on me. See, these lead companies, they want to feed you because they want to create a dependency within you so you can't escape. And whenever you lose the art of self-generation and become dependent on a lead company for solely providing your leads, you now, because you're dependent, they can jack up the price and take your profitability. And what are you going to do? We can get on Facebook and complain about it, but we're still taking the leads as an industry. And the reason why we're complaining is because we're making less profit from it. But the reason we're not quitting is because we lost the art of self-generation. You are not going to get to the next level because you add another lead company on. You're going to get to the next level because you open up your own lead company, and it's you. You are the most profitable lead company there is in the business, period. Abe, please chime in there.
Yeah, that's tough to chime in because you nailed that. You said so many good things in there. So when I first saw this note from you, choose one pillar, I was going to say, no, they're not choosing a pillar. We're choosing a pillar for them.
Okay.
If you want to be a listing agent, if you want to master listings, you have to start with circle prospecting. No ifs, ands, or buts. Greg, how many top listing agents in the country do you know that didn't start with circle prospecting?
Oh,
I can't think of a single person that didn't start with circle prospecting. That doesn't mean you can do it forever, but that's where it has to start. And for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, like Greg says, you can get unlimited reps. There's just so many people that you can call with circle prospecting, as opposed to if you're waiting on a lead company to give you a lead, it might be one a day, it might be one a week. If you're waiting on expireds, it might be a couple a day. Circle prospecting is a never-ending pool for you to call people and get some reps in and get some practice. Secondly, it's the best way that I know of, and probably going to be the best way ever to build a database, right? As you're growing as an agent, you go from year 1 to year 2, you want to build a database. All right, my first year, Greg, 12,000 contacts I had to make to start building a database. I think I added maybe 3,000 people to my database my first year. Second year, I went to, I think, 8,000 contacts. Year 3, went to 4,000 contacts. Year 4, 2,000 contacts. Little by little, I had to make less phone calls out to people because my database was growing. Okay, my past client list was growing, and I was starting getting more come list me calls because I was able to nurture that database. And the reason I was able to do that is because I circle prospected very heavily early on to build that nice foundation. There was a couple of questions. So a pillar is basically just one source, one lead source. A pillar could be a circle prospecting. A pillar could be expireds. A pillar could be like one of the referral companies, like an Upnest. It could be for sale by owners. Every one of those we call a pillar, or like a leg on a table. And you want, at least 3 or 4 pillars to build a solid business. And then the other question is circle prospecting. Basically, what you're doing with circle prospecting is you're dropping a pin on a particular area, drawing a circle around it, and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to call everybody within that radius of that circle. Or it might be a specific community, like where we live. There's a lot of communities or subdivisions where we can just get a list of that one subdivision, and we call that specific subdivision. So basically, you're cold calling to a particular list that you're choosing up front, or you're going to call. So I'll just add just those 2 things, a couple of things, Greg.
Okay. That's great. And I think, a lot of people will say, hey, well, where do you get numbers from and all that? There's plenty of services out there. Look, Abe and I have a company called ExactDial where we can actually append information because we build databases and whatnot and find people through that. There's Cole's directory that you can go through. There's all kinds of things. So, let's just make sure that you don't listen to us and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't know how. Look, we all know how. If you don't know how, one of us have the answer, or Google has the answer, right? In other words, there are no hows that go unanswered. So just make sure that you don't immediately let your ego to say, yeah, but I don't know how. Nope. There's no reasons that you cannot do anything that we said, at this point. And by the way, I'll mention it probably a few times in as shameless plug is if you're not involved with Agent Success Academy, you got to be involved with Agent Success Academy. I mean, anybody that shows up to Abe and my coaching and actually executes like one thing every week out of the hundreds of things that we're probably giving you in a month, they're growing. Some of the biggest listing agents across this country are coming from Agent Success Academy. So we're answering in deep dive about scripts and how to approach this and whatnot. So please continue to explore that as an option if you're not already in it.
I did want to add one more thing before we move on to point number 3, because you mentioned number of attempts. Please don't ever tell me how many dials you made. Don't ever tell me how many calls you made or how many dials or attempts that you made. That doesn't matter. All that matters is how many people do you actually speak with today. That's all that matters. Whether it's a buyer, seller, whatever it may be, all that matters is how many did you speak with. The industry out there, especially like the dialers, like with Mojo, they've got all these fancy dashboards where they tell you number of dials, number of attempts. That means nothing because you didn't talk to anybody. So don't get fooled into thinking just because you're making a dials, you're being productive. You're not being productive at all. It's about how many people are you talking to today. That's all that matters.
You know, I had this crazy thought in my head, Abe, and I know that you and I will probably share a somewhat an agreement on this. And when I say this, but you know how the industry has kind of shifted from making sure everybody can win, right? Like everybody can win. Like when we talk about attempts, you don't have to talk to anybody, but if you make enough attempts, then that's a success for the day. That's back to like what, you know, I complain about, like everybody gets a trophy. And to me, it's like these systems and CRMs, it's like they want everybody to have a trophy every day. And you know what? I believe these, you know, people should be acknowledged for, you know, for their hard work. But do they need to get a trophy? We need to earn those trophies. And we earn them through making contacts, not thinking that, okay, we're doing good just because we showed up and made a bunch of attempts. And here's what I found out because I've actually acquired companies, and, you know, in times I'll acquire a company and their focus has been on, the attempts. And then versus another company, their focus is on contacts. Their agents focus on contacts. And the difference is if you're focusing on attempts, then yes, you'll do a lot of dials. But if you focus on contacts, you'll have a lot of conversations. That's very, very important.
Okay, and you can do this experiment if you want. Next time you're hungry, go to your kitchen, open up the fridge, and then just close it. Open and close it over and over and over and see if you're still hungry an hour later. You gotta talk to people. Just making attempts and not talking to anybody doesn't do you any good.
I would fail at that one. So make an attempt to go get something to eat out of the refrigerator, but
Don't grab it.
Yeah, okay. All right. I like that. Never heard that one, but I'm gonna have to practice that one before I use that. But I actually get your point.